Stop messing around, stop fooling around, stop delaying, stop procrastinating. Get up, get out, get it done. Everything is possible, nothing is a problem, and anything can be overcome. I just get my ass up out of bed, I get my shit together, and I get out and I start the fight. And that will transform you from a mere mortal into a superhuman being. I've never, ever, ever met anybody who told me that they got rich watching their IRA or their 401k.
Welcome to the Daily Cash Flow. My name is George Robson.
Welcome to the Daily Cash Flow. I'm Peter Siegel. What's up, George?
Not too much, Peter. How you doing?
I'm a flower.
A delicate flower?
I'm a delicate. No, I'm good. Thank you for asking. I'm just busting your chops, as you know.
Yeah.
And I'm good. It's a happy sunny day at the Jersey Shore. Life's good when it's sunny out here. Ocean's blue.
For our listeners, Peter was making fun of me because I had said I was a flower that when the sun is not out, I wilt. And that's how I roll.
I am making fun of you, George.
Well, Peter, I want to start off today with talking about buying versus building. And
something I know a lot about.
Yeah, could you talk a little bit about that and the pros and cons and, kind of how you feel about that?
So I've chosen to make the significant majority of my career buying existing assets and repositioning them versus building from the ground up. They're two completely different businesses. You might as well be a dry cleaner versus a chef. I mean, that's how different they are. I like buying existing assets and repositioning them because I'm making an investment in an asset that's already cash flowing. I want cash flow from day one. And I want there to be an opportunity to improve and grow that cash flow because I'm smart and maybe I can think of some ways to increase rents by renovating units or improving amenities or services to the building. That's already there. I'm not building something from new and hoping that it will lease. I've already got something in front of me. It's a known entity. I can calculate income. I can calculate expenses with a lot of certainty. I know exactly what the net operating income is going to be, and I know what to pay for it. My bank knows how to value it. They know how to lend on it. Oh, banks? Okay, that's another reason. Let's talk about the lending markets for buying versus building. If you're going to buy an existing asset, it's really easy. You get an appraisal. The bank will give you 75% loan proceeds to the amount of the appraisal that you get. And really all you need to do is just have the money to then close on the deal with the bank's loan and you're off and running, right? You now own a building. 75% is a great LTV.
That seems like a lot.
It's a good amount. I mean, there's even banks that'll give you more than that. Let's not get into that though. I think the right level is 75 LTV. The terms are typically great because when you're buying a multifamily asset, banks are going to break down your door to get to you, to bid and quote and lend you money on this deal. They want to put money out into multifamily assets. It's the safest, best, most reliable and predictable asset class for a bank to lend money into. If you're coming to a bank with a hockey rink, or if you're coming to a bank with a recording studio facility, or if you're going to the bank looking for a loan or a mortgage on an office building, we're in COVID, right? You're going to get way different terms, way different metrics, way different requirements that the lender has to protect itself, and you're not going to like it. But with an apartment building, if you bring a deal to a bank, they're going to bang your door down to make sure that you take their deal. So I like how competitive it is because it helps me as the borrower. I like the LTVs because I can borrow 75%. George, what other business can you think of that you can just decide to go into and from day one, a bank will fund 70 to 75% of it?
No, that's crazy.
No other business. So you'll get great terms, you'll get great pricing. The best thing I like about it, George, is that because there's already calculated and predictable income and expenses that's there day one, the bank has different risk viewpoints on your assets. So they're going to be okay with you not signing a personal guarantee and just pledging the asset as collateral. Now you have to go in with your 30 or 25% cash equity to match their 75 LTV. And if you one day have to give the keys back on the building, you're going to give the keys back and you're going to walk. And except for standard carve-outs for what we call bad guy clauses, so fraud, misrepresentation, things like that, you remain off the hook. So your note that you're going to sign with the bank allows you to just give the keys back, walk, the bank takes over the building, and now you've lost your 25 or 30% that you had to put down, but you didn't sign away your personal home, all of your assets in your estate. They can't cross-collateralize other things or buildings or businesses that you may own. So you get non-recourse, you get great lending terms, you get competitive pricing, and there's a ton of options. Every bank in the world wants to lend on an apartment building. So I think I've beaten this horse to death. When you build ground up, you're buying a vacant piece of land. You got to buy the land, typically all cash, although there are some circumstances where you can get some financing to buy the land too, but you have to stay in it longer for the build process. You're on the hook personally because there is no income. So the bank only has collateral of the land and what you are as a backstop to the bank. And now you've got to get a construction loan at more expensive interest rates than if it were an occupied multifamily building, at more stressful and less competitive terms. So you're sort of bending over a little bit to give the bank what they want, rather with multifamily that's already occupied, the bank's bending over to give you what you want. And you're in the deal for 2.5, 3 years until you get your entitlements, until you get your approvals, till you break ground, pour a foundation, start your construction project, finish out, top off, go into your lease-up phase, lease up the whole building, and then you can replace your construction financing with permanent financing. And at that point, you have an occupied asset. You can get the good terms that we were talking about before that you would get from day one from just buying a building that's already occupied in the first place. I don't love building ground up. I don't have the stomach for it. A lot of guys do. A lot of guys don't mind signing personally. A lot of guys don't mind hanging in there for the 2-3 year period, getting your government entitlements, getting your municipal entitlements, getting your construction approvals and your permits. It's a nightmare. There's so much that can go wrong. Government risk, construction risk, contractor risk, municipal risk, utility fees, water fees. Everyone's going to look for their piece of your ass when you're building from the ground up. And you've got to be able to carry that project for the 2-3 years that it's going to take to go out of the ground, complete it, and lease it up. So you have to have more cash going in. You have to have the ability to call more cash and have access to more cash should you need it, and you will, from your partners and investors. And so they're completely different businesses. Me, I sleep at night. I don't have personal guarantees on my loans. I've got a healthy loan-to-value ratio, but I've got a great loan-to-value ratio. I've got super competitive interest rates. I mean, right now, you're looking at loans in the low 3% for occupied multifamily. If you're going to get a construction loan, you're looking at 5.5%, 6.5%, at least, probably more, depending on who you are and what your collateral is and what your borrower profile is. So, I mean, you're asking me, George, buy versus build. It's like, drinking lemonade versus ketchup after running a marathon. That's really how I would describe it. And, when I buy a building that's already occupied, management's so easy. I just have to step in. I have to collect rents. I have to sign renewal leases. I have to fix and repair things that are broken and pay some bills. I mean, it's obviously more to that, but that's really the cycle of it. When you're building from the ground up, you've got to manage contractors, people with egos, personalities. Are they showing up when they should? Do they have other jobs that are competing for their time and taking them away from your job? I mean, time is money when you're building from the ground up. If you can finish 6 weeks faster because your contractor is going to show up every working day and on weekends too to get you done 6 weeks faster, is that going to happen? Or are you going to not know and he's not going to show up 5 days a week and maybe on some weekends and you're going to get dragged out 12 weeks more?
So it's a whole additional kind of business thing.
It's a completely different situation, completely different business. When I've built, it was smaller scale. I mean, I've built single-family homes. I've built very small number of unit apartment buildings, detached apartment buildings, but never anything that was a large, sprawling campus, never anything 100, 200, 300,000 square feet. And those projects are getting built all the time, and thank God, because I love those projects. I wait for those guys to go finish, get their CO, lease up, and then I buy those projects from them. Most of the builders that are building multifamily assets from the ground up are build to sell. Many are also build and hold, but many are build to sell. I find the build to sell guys and form the relationship and start a dialogue right when they come out of the ground. I want to be there and have a crack at it when they get their CO and when they get significantly leased up. I'll be right there to buy it. And I'm much happier paying the person who built the property, letting him make some money. He deserves it. He built the property. It took a lot of risks to do it, so I'm happy to pay him and happy to give him his day. But I want the asset, I want it fully leased, and I want it cash flowing, and I want it located in a great area with supply-constrained characteristics where there's a high demand for apartment rental housing, good school systems, a lot of employers around within an hour away, and good transportation. So, if you're looking for places to build, look in those places because you'll have a great building if you decide to keep it. If you're looking to build an apartment building, look in those places to build because Peter Siegel's going to be there and want to buy it from you when you're done. But if you're building in the swamps of Mississippi, or no disrespect, Mississippi, love you guys. But if you're building in some faraway place where there's just not a whole lot of rental demand, it's going to be tough to get financing for you to build. It's going to be tough to sell out when it's time to go sell. It's going to be tough for you to lease up. So keep to the supply-constrained markets, high-demand markets, no matter which side of that coin you're on. I like buying versus building.
All about that cash flow.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, all right. You've written about empathy before, and there was this one kind of quote that you had of make their grind your worry.
Yeah.
What makes that important to you, and how do you develop that for yourself or exhibit that to other people?
So once a relationship is formed, so we've talked about different ways to get in the door and stand out and be heard and break through and form a relationship. Yeah. Once the relationship is formed, the success of that relationship is going to, and the growth of it is going to come from your ability to listen, really listen, and then deliver. Okay. That's the essence of any long-term relationship, the give and the get. And you want to be in the position of giving more. I mean, I think with anything in life, you want to be giving more because the value will come back to you. So, most of the time, people in your relationships are telling you in so many different ways what they want and what they need and what's making them not happy and what's bothering them. Are we listening? Are you picking up on it? I mean, they tell us in words very clearly. Are we listening? They tell us in body language. They tell us in facial expression. They tell us in emotional reaction. And if our radar's on and if we're picking up on these things, we're going to be able to understand how they feel. We're going to be able to understand what they're going through, what they're thinking. I want to leave the people in my relationships better than when I found them. So to speak. I want them to be better off because I was there. I want them to be better off because I listened and then delivered to them something that improved their day, their week, their life, whatever. And that's what I'm trying to work towards with all of my relationships. So, I'm listening. And are you listening? Are you watching and picking up the cues? I mean, people will tell you. I want this, I need that. Now, we're all so busy in today's world. We've got phones and computers and social media, but are we really listening? Because if we are, we're going to hear those cues from the people that we're in relationships with, and we're going to be able to say, I'm going to take action here. I'm going to send a gift. I'm going to write a card. I'm going to give a hug. I'm going to have an extra meeting. I'm going to whatever it takes.
For yourself, do you take notes on that kind of thing, or do you just store it away in your mind? Like when you're listening and kind of paying attention to people when they're talking, do you kind of like make note of that, or it's just kind of?
I make a mental note of it.
Okay.
I try to be very aware of what people look. If you're in a relationship with me, you're important to me. Bottom line. And I've chosen to be in a relationship with you. We've chosen to be in a relationship together, and so that's important to me. So if we're in each other's lives and we're working together or we're playing together or we're living together or we're sleeping together or whatever the deal is, it's important to me. So if it's important to me, I'm listening. I mean, I want to get stuff out of it, and I want you to get stuff out of it, and I want to give things to you. I mean, that's the way the world rolls, man. And so I try and listen and be aware. The question is for all the listeners, are you? Are you picking up on these things? Because people will tell you. People will tell you, I'm hungry, let's eat. I'm hungry, I want chicken. And are we actually hearing it? And are you giving them chicken? I mean, they'll just tell you. It's just simple as that. And then when they're not coming out and just speaking the clear words, there's other cues that they're giving you, and you got to be able to pick up on them. And if you're going to be successful in relationships, this is how to do it. You got to be able to feel what they're feeling. You have to be able to know what's going to make them happy. You have to be able to understand what's making them not happy, and then deliver them something that is going to improve their situation. Relationships are key. You know I like to say that. Yeah. But if you can make their grind your concern, you're going to be sharing things with them. You're going to be on the same playing field with them. They're going to feel like, oh, this person really cares about me. They're listening to me. And it's only going to be good. If you're not listening to someone who supposedly is important to you, and you're not delivering to someone who's supposedly important to you, where's that relationship going to go? Down the tubes quick.
And that makes sense. Well, speaking of important people, we've talked a lot about your dad, and we've touched also on your relationships with your brothers. And you've mentioned your mom before, but I wanted to ask you, if you don't think about it too long, what's a memory that stands out about your mother that you feel like really helped develop you as a person?
A memory? Oh, wow. If I don't think about it too long, my problem is that there's so many.
Well, that's why I always say don't think about it too long.
I have the super mom, and I'm the luckiest person in the world. My brothers and I, we're the luckiest guys in the world because we had great parents. My dad was awesome. My mom is an incredible, she's super mom. So many things from when I was very young. I mean, all the lessons. I remember mentioning some of them here with you, George, but I'll go through a few of them that I can think of. So she's incredibly, incredibly loyal with friends and family. So I remember at a young age picking up on loyalty as being something that was important to her, that she was trying to make important to me. And I remember that. She has a bit of a less is more thing going on, which I think at times I try to embody, and I've gotten from her. A lot of people would say I'm a more is more person, but I appreciate her less is more. Very worldly, very cultured, very educated, very personable. She's got all these wonderful attributes. She's very simple, and she likes her few friends, she likes her family, she likes her people, and that's her core. And so when I say less is more, that's really what I'm referring to.
Keeping the priorities straight.
Yeah, I mean, her integrity is off the charts. I think my brothers and I have all gotten the integrity levels that we have from our mom. It's part of what makes her a super mom. And she is, on a daily basis, she's always doing the right thing. She's always honest and forthright. She's really just displays so much integrity that it's something to strive for, and probably I'll never achieve. She's wildly creative. She's an artist. She can cook. She can orchestrate people in a situation to elevate them to this wonderful experience, whatever it is. I mean, if you go to a movie with her, if you're at a dinner party with her, she'll just create such a warm and fun environment, and she's very creative with how she approaches everything in her life. She plans events, she runs businesses, she thinks of ways to do things that most people would never think of, and those events or those businesses end up being stellar as a result. She's very, very supportive. She was always very supportive. I mean, for me personally, when I was a kid, I had all these crazy ideas and all these things that I wanted to do. I wanted to travel. I wanted to live in different places. She was so supportive. She loved it. She said, yeah, go live in some faraway place. Go. I remember I wanted to work on a dude ranch after college out in Wyoming. I was sort of kidding when I said it. She thought it was the greatest idea. She sort of pushed me to go do it. She said, that's the most fun I've ever heard. Go do it, Peter. Tell me all about it. I can't wait. I'm living vicariously through you. She would really be willing.
Did you work out on the dude ranch?
I did.
We got to talk about that at some point.
It was great in Jackson Hole, Wyoming.
Wow.
Wilson, Wyoming, which is right next to Jackson Hole.
We'll definitely have to touch on that.
But she was always very supportive. She was the first one to always say, yeah, go do it. Yeah, you can do it. You can do anything. Go do it. And you hear that enough, starting at a very young age. I want to think that it really matters and means something. So she was always very supportive, and I really love her and appreciate her for that. George, you've heard me say how important gratitude is. And so with my mom, she has so much gratitude for everything. She's the one who taught me that things can always be worse. And what she's saying is be thankful for what you have. Things can always be worse. And I've really, really remembered that from a very young age. She'd say that almost on a daily basis. You know, maybe as a kid, I was whiny and complainy, and she would say, "Yeah, shut up," you know, whatever she would say. But I have it today because of her, and I think it's really, really important for everybody to have gratitude. For me, I have gratitude because of her, and she's given me that ability and that skill. A big one that she gave me that I remember, again from a young age, is don't be a Debbie Downer. No one's going to want to be around you if you're just a downer. You have to have fun. You have to be smiley, fun, upbeat, laugh. Don't fake it. I mean, really, really be fun and happy. But if you're a downer and you're a complainer and you're a whiner and people are not going to want to be around you. They're not going to want to travel with you. They're not going to want to be your roommate in camp or in school. They're not going to want to be on your team. They're not going to want to work with you. They're not going to want to be
invest with you.
Invest with you. They're not going to want to be in a relationship with you. So there's so many things that people aren't going to want to do with you if you're just a downer to be around. So she would say stuff like that to us all the time, and so grateful that she did, because if there's one thing I'm not, it's a complainer, and it's definitely because of her. No matter what you're doing, have fun at it. And that would sort of support the don't be a downer thing. And I know you asked me for one memory about my mom, George, but for her, in this case, there is no one memory. I mean, there's one person, and there's 1 billion memories and 1 billion things about her that make her impactful to me, and that I've gotten from her these things is, I'm very lucky.
Fantastic. I love that. I have a listener question.
Listener question. Is it from the phone? Do they call you?
This one, I wish.
Do they email you?
That'd be.
Do you ever get any emails from people?
Very few.
Not in 2020, right?
Yeah, not personal ones at least.
Yeah.
They're all businessy. This one's from LinkedIn.
Okay.
So maybe I can put my phone number up on LinkedIn. They can start giving me some calls. This listener asks, how do you be tough or critical without damaging a relationship?
That's a good question. Yeah. We've talked a little bit about some of these things. You asked me once, how do you say no? Mm-hmm. I think perhaps this is parallel. I would say how to be critical without damaging the relationship. I would say don't always start with the compliments and the fluff first. I see this a lot out there, right? In meetings with peers and different people in our lives, we'll sit down and someone's going to say to you, "Oh, let me tell you something. You do this so well and you do that." I mean, in 4 seconds, I already know what's coming. They're padding the front end of the conversation only to hit me with the but in a few minutes, right? So you know it's coming, and immediately the hair goes up on your skin, and you know to get in defensive mode. You're to prepare for, oh, there's a but coming. So I would say don't start off with the fluff and the compliments, because just everyone knows what you're doing. Just it's not transparent. It looks
disingenuous.
Yeah. I don't love that, because when that but comes, you're putting an axe in that relationship. So I would say don't start off with the fluff and the compliments. Be honest, and be honest without being a jerk. You know, maintain the eye contact. Speak to them like you'd speak to anybody. Don't patronize, because the patronizing thing is like when you start off with the compliments. And I would begin with the goal of correcting or improving the situation. If you're just being critical, to be critical, then you're being a jerk. And we said don't be a jerk while you're being honest. You're being critical to try and solve a problem. This isn't working. We got to change this. We're not profitable enough. We got to change this. We're not efficient enough. We have to make these changes here. Whatever your deal is with this person, begin with the goal of making the corrective action the priority, for sure. And then I would have mutual parameters for follow-up. Hey, George, can we meet again this time next week just to circle back and, I want to hear your thoughts on this. And can we meet again on the 15th next month, and let's just see how we did 30 days out and see if we can measure any improvement and get the person to buy in with you on what some mutually agreeable follow-up is. But for sure, it's all about the delivery. Don't always start off with the compliments and the fluff. Be honest, don't be a jerk, and begin with the goal of improving or correcting the situation. Get some follow-up going. I think you're fine.
Yeah. Focusing on the solution, I think, is always that's something I've heard you talk a lot about, and I feel like that's so important, no matter what we're talking about.
I think so. I mean, so many times people will want to be critical or say I disagree or say no without really tying it all together. So then what happens is they're just disagreeing with nothing else. So now you've got someone in front of you who you're in a relationship with, right? We just got off of relationships, who you care about, who you want to deliver to and you want to listen to, and they're just disagreeing and nothing else. If I'm going to disagree with you, I'm probably going to offer a suggestion or solution. I'm not just going to complain or criticize. Oh man, George, I don't complain. I'm not just going to criticize or say no without offering a suggestion or solution, which I think most of the world does. Yeah. And if we would all just offer suggestions or solutions, maybe there'd be a lot less complaining and
well, because it focuses on the mission rather than on the person.
I think so.
No, that makes sense.
I think so. I mean, I always say to people who are telling me what they don't like about me or something that I'm doing or involved with, I'll always say to them, and so therefore what?
Right.
What do I need to do? I know what you don't like. Yeah. How are we going to fix this? How do you want me to fix it?
No, that makes sense. All right, so I have this 3 to 5. I feel like this is a kind of now a classic question that we're coming up with, the 3 to 5 question. What are 3 to 5 reasons normal people fail at their goals?
George, what is a normal person? I mean, that's so fucked up. I would not expect that from you because you're so aware and cognizant. It's sort of condescending. It's what's a normal person?
Well,
I'm a normal person.
So I think what I was getting at.
Are you a normal person?
I would say, do you think most people succeed at their goals? I think if we look at the the majority of people, I think there's a feeling, at least in my mind, that there's a lot of people out there that aren't succeeding at their goals, and so that must mean that that's normal.
So I think, it must be right. If failure is normal, then maybe you're off the hook for that. Yeah. I'm not sure. I think everybody on the planet can do more and achieve more, and I mean even the ones who do achieve, you can always do more. So I don't necessarily agree that normal people achieving goals is any different than not normal people achieving goals, and I'm not going to let this one go.
I'll concede.
I'm going to circle back to you on this every week for like the next 5 months.
We'll start to have a debate every week about normal and not normal.
Yeah. So number 1, you want to have real, attainable goals, realistic goals. Dream big, think big, have lots of goals, but make them real and make them meaningful to you. If they're meaningful to you, you're going to be vested emotionally and physically and mentally in being able to achieve them. Number 2, you got to have a good mindset. If you have a shitty mindset, if you have a failure mindset, you're never going to achieve anything. So get rid of the negativity, get rid of the failure mindset, and you're going to have a way better chance of achieving whatever it is you want to achieve. Number 3, not putting in the time, the work, the patience, the diligence, the persistence, not putting in whatever it takes to achieve your goal. Yeah, that's tied into quitting and giving up a little bit, but you got to do what it takes, not what you wish it took.
So we've been doing this podcast for a while, Peter.
Yep.
And I was wondering if you could share with us some things that you've learned from doing this podcast, and would you recommend other people do this and post content, do this kind of thing?
I recommend that people do this kind of thing if they think it's going to be helpful and meaningful to them. I enjoy it, so I chose to do it. I'm really happy I got into doing this stuff with you, George. I like communicating with people. This is a way for me to communicate. I love talking about business, real estate, investing, everything that we're talking about. It's my favorite stuff. I would say that for this kind of thing and for really anything in life, be highly organized. Don't just wing it. Plan it out. Have a system in place. Have a method. Have a calendar. Have all of those tools. Plan it out. Don't just wing it. You're going to have a better end product. Number 2, I'd say create a recurring schedule and plan everything out. We talked just a second ago about not winging it and being organized. Well, this is how you do it. I would schedule it all out. Monday shoot, Tuesday edit, Wednesday post-production, Thursday review, make more changes, Friday post to your social media platforms, whatever your schedule's going to be. But that's going to be your week in and week out schedule. So you know what your workload is, what your work scope is every day. Time management's going to be important. Otherwise, you're going to go down the editing vortex black hole, and you're just going to get lost, and 2 weeks are going to go by. You're not going to have anything done because you're going to be editing the same thing over and over and over. So have it planned out like that. I'd say that you got to get comfortable with the way you look, with the way you sound, with your delivery. And how are you going to do that? Pick up a phone, do a little selfie video, and watch your own selfie videos. Critique yourself. Find out what you like and don't like about how you look. You ever wonder why actors and actresses, when they go on talk shows, they want to have their right or their left side facing the camera? There's always cues to the cameramen before the show starts, how they want to be shot, because they know. They know how they look. They know how they're going to look their best. You need to know how you're going to look your best as well. You have to be your own best critic when it comes to, are you delivering eye contact? Is your body language spot on? Practice in front of a mirror. Look at yourself. Are your facial expressions communicating happiness, complacency, boredom, laziness? Like, are you into it? Is your eye contact spot on? Are you looking around and your lips are moving but your eyes are looking all over the place? Are your shoulders sort of down and are you hunched over? I mean, you have to pick all that stuff up before you get in front of the camera, because when you get in front of the camera to do this, George, it's go time. You don't want to put it out there if you're not your best. Now, I'm not saying I'm at my best, but I'm certainly better now than I would have been had I not had a lot of years of being in front of a camera for different reasons. The selfie video drill, the mirror drill. You got to be your own best critic, and you got to be able to know how you look the most attractive, how you sound the most effective, and your hand movements, your body language, all that stuff matters, and I'd work all of that out before you start filming and shooting for this. Yeah. Those are the things that I think of.
Yeah, that's great.
But yeah, I've learned a lot, and I've learned to do those things because I want to get to my best quickly. And the way I think you do that is you got to put in the time and do those drills that we just spoke about and extract out the shit and keep what's good and just do the good stuff.
Yeah. All right. Well, speaking of the good stuff, Zest Quest.
Zest.
So now we've asked a lot of questions. So I'm going to go with, I have one Zest Quest.
One?
I've one. Just we talked.
Lazy this week.
I know. I've been slacking a lot. As I said, I'm a delicate flower.
Okay.
So but this Zest Quest.
Delicate. Normal person.
Delicate normal flower. Yeah. I'll make a T-shirt. I'll wear it next week. Yeah. What book or books have most impacted your life? I know we've talked about the one that you gifted the most, which you said was Many Lives, Many Masters. Yeah. But are there other books that have really changed the way you think, impacted the way you live?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked me that. That's a really important question, especially today. So the books or book that's most impacted me is anything by Eddie Van Halen or the group Van Halen.
All right.
I can't even think about anything else, and I've been sick to my stomach since yesterday, since finding out that he died. If I were in the music community, it would be a huge loss for the music community. I was just a fan, and he was such an important piece of my childhood. I mean, everybody that I know is like fucking Van Halen. I mean, it's the soundtrack to our lives. I mean, as a guitar player, he was just
changed the game.
The pinnacle of tone and precision and sound and attitude, and he died at a young age, and he was 65, and it was a big loss culturally, I think, for the world, and I've been bummed out about it for the past day, and so sorry for not answering your question about books, but I can't think about anything else.
Yeah.
When you're asking me about books, I think music, and when I'm thinking music today, I'm thinking Eddie Van Halen. So it's a bummer, and I'm going to go home and attempt to play all the Van Halen songs that I learned when I was a kid and listen to all those records. Again, I listen to them all the time anyway.
Yeah.
But it's been on my mind, so that's my answer to pretty much whatever you were going to ask me just now.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Eddie. And thanks so much, Peter. I'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Flowering George. See you.
Appreciate it.
Bye.
If you like what you just heard, you can subscribe to The Daily Cash Flow on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts. And we'd love it if you left us a review. You can follow us on Twitter and Facebook at SiegelCap and on Instagram at Siegel.cap. As always, if you're an accredited investor, go to SiegelCapital.com and take our survey to see if you qualify to take part in one of our apartment building deals. That's SIEGEL Capital.com.